Do you ever enter a normal day and leave feeling like you live 10 at once? A quick conversation stays with you for hours. A crowded store feels unbearably loud. Someone's sharp tone shifts your whole mood. You need time alone, not because you dislike people, but because everything lands so deeply. If that feels familiar, this may help you feel less alone. Some highly sensitive people process more emotional and sensory detail than others seem to notice. The flicker in someone's face, the tension in a room, background hum, a rushed schedule, the feeling that too many people need something at once. This is not a diagnosis. It is simply one way to understand and experience many deep feelers instantly recognize. And if you have spent years wondering why ordinary life feels so intense, it helps to say this clearly. Sensitivity is not weakness, failure, or immaturity. It may simply mean your mind and body register more, hold more, and need more time to sort through what came in. That is why overwhelm feels so confusing. From the outside, nothing dramatic happened. You answered messages, went to work, smiled through a conversation, picked up groceries, sat through a loud lunch, listened to someone vent, came home, and suddenly felt full in a way you could not explain. Not full in a satisfying way, full like a room with no air left. Here is what most people misunderstand. Overwhelm is not always caused by one big event. For many sensitive people, it comes from the slow stacking of tiny things. A bright light, a crowded train, an unresolved text, a change of plans, a tense meeting, a friend asking, "Are you okay?" in a tone that suggests you are not. Alone, none of these seem huge. Together, they create an internal pileup. Imagine a kitchen sink with water running all day. Not flooding, just steadily filling. A plate here, a cup there, one more spoon, one more dish. Eventually, the sink is not dramatic. It is simply too full for one more thing. This is how some highly sensitive people move through the day. Not broken, just carrying more input than others realize. This is why it can feel so confusing. You may see other people doing more, talking more, staying out longer, tolerating noisier spaces, and quietly decide something must be wrong with you. But comparison misleads. People do not absorb experience the same way. When you understand that, a different question becomes possible. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" you can ask, "What is overwhelming me specifically?" That question is gentler and more useful. Maybe your overwhelm starts before the event does. Too many mental tabs, too little transition time, too many decisions at once. Maybe the hardest part is not the loud restaurant, but acting like you are not tired in it. Maybe what drains you is not helping people, but being emotionally available with no pause between one person's needs and the next. The quiet truth is that overwhelm often follows patterns. And when you notice them, you gain something precious. You stop treating your exhaustion like a mystery and start treating it like information. For example, you may notice you feel most flooded after back-to-back social contact with no recovery space, or after being with people who talk over each other, or after trying to stay easygoing when you are already stretched thin, or after telling yourself, "It is not a big deal," when your body is clearly saying that, for you, it is. This matters because highly sensitive people are often skilled at overriding themselves. They sense what others need, adapt quickly, stay pleasant, stay thoughtful, and keep going long after their inner capacity begins to narrow. From the outside, they may seem calm. Inside, they may be nearing shutdown, irritability, tears, numbness, or that sudden feeling of wanting everyone to stop talking. And this is where many sensitive people blame themselves. They tell themselves they should be more relaxed, less affected, less needy, less intense. But self-criticism usually adds another layer of pressure to an already overloaded system. It does not create calm. It creates shame. A more helpful response is to respect your thresholds before you hit them, not after the crash, before it. That can look very ordinary, leaving 10 minutes early, keeping part of the day unscheduled, lowering the volume after a noisy afternoon, eating before you are depleted, noticing certain group dynamics tire you more than the people themselves, turning down one invitation because your inner world is already crowded. Alone time can be recovery, not rejection. Many sensitive people feel guilty for needing space. They worry quiet means they are distant, difficult, or unloving. But solitude is not always escape. Sometimes it is what makes connection possible again. Think of closing the front door after a long day, taking off your shoes, and hearing silence at last. Or sitting in your car a few extra minutes. Or making tea and staring out the window with no one asking anything of you. These moments may look small, but for a deeply feeling person, they can mean returning to yourself instead of losing touch with yourself. Here is the part many people miss. Rest is not only sleep. For highly sensitive people, it also means less stimulation, less performance, less emotional labor, and less need to read every signal in the room. You can sleep 8 hours and still feel exhausted if your day asks you to absorb too much noise, tension, urgency, or unpredictability. That is why boundaries matter so much. They protect emotional availability. They are not cold walls. They are filters that help you stay present without becoming flooded. A boundary can sound like, I can talk, but not right now. Or, I want to help, and I need a little time before I respond. Or, I am going to head home early tonight. It can also be internal, like deciding that someone else's bad mood is not automatically yours to fix. Some sensitive people stay open long past their limit. They keep listening, soothing, explaining, absorbing. Then later, in private, they feel resentful or drained and do not know why. Often the reason is simple. Their care was real, but it had no container. That is why this feels so confusing. You may love people deeply and still need more space than they expect. You may enjoy meaningful conversation and still feel tired after. You may be compassionate and still need to say no. None of this makes your love less real. It simply means your energy is not endless. If you want to feel less overwhelmed, shift from emergency care to daily care. Do not wait until you are flooded to be kind to your nervous system. Build small recovery into ordinary life. Pause before going inside after work. Step out for 2 minutes between tasks. Put your phone in another room when your mind feels noisy. Choose one calm errand instead of 5 rushed ones. Notice which relationships leave you settled and which leave you scattered. Give yourself transition rituals, because many sensitive people need not only rest after intensity, but a bridge out of it. The quiet truth is that your system may respond better to rhythm than force. Gentle routines, predictable pauses, enough margin to feel what you feel before the next thing arrives. Overwhelm often grows where there is no room to process. It also helps to stop arguing with your experience. If a place feels too loud, it may be too loud for you. If a week feels too packed, it may be too packed for you. If a friendship leaves you heavy every time, that heaviness may be worth hearing. You do not need universal agreement to honor your limits. And this is where many sensitive people blame themselves again. They think that if something affects them deeply, they are being dramatic. But being affected is not the same as exaggerating. Some people truly register more emotional and sensory detail. If that is true for you, your task is not to become less human. It is to become more skillful with what you take in. That skill often starts with permission. Permission to slow down before you snap, to leave before you crash, to turn one thing off, to stop explaining every need just to earn approval from people who do not experience life the way you do. This is not a diagnosis. It is a compassionate framework, a way of saying your overwhelm may make more sense than you have been told. And when something makes sense, it becomes easier to work with it instead of fight it. You may still have busy days. You may still get overstimulated, care too much, notice too much, and carry conversations home. But you can get better at noticing the early signs, the shorter answers, the tight jaw, the urge to withdraw, the sense that every small request suddenly feels too loud. These are not character flaws. They are signals. When you listen earlier, you often suffer less later. So if you feel everything deeply, let this remind you, sensitivity is not weakness. Your need for space is not selfishness. Alone time can be recovery, not rejection. Boundaries protect emotional availability. Understanding your overwhelm is not about boxing yourself in. It is about meeting yourself with more accuracy and more kindness. You do not need to harden yourself to live well. You may simply need to stop treating your depth like a problem and start treating it like something that deserves care. If this spoke to you, Take a quiet moment and ask yourself what drains you that other people seem not to notice. And if you want, share it in the comments. What drains you that others do not understand?